G'day, it's Gran here from Australia. Just thought I'd talk to you a bit about the shadow. Now, when I looked into it, I thought I knew all about shadow, when I started this channel. But when I started looking into it to try and share a few words of Gran's wisdom with you, well, it was a lot, how would you say? I didn't know as much as I thought I did. In fact, I think I'm probably more confused about the shadow now than I was before. So, I thought I'd start with some definitions. So, if you look up what the shadow is, you'll find that the shadow is parts of our personality that we deem are just not good enough. They're inferior, they're broken bits that don't work, and we don't need them. We think that, they're just not going to serve our needs to survive in life and in society and so forth. So what we do, those parts that we deem inferior are pushed into our subconscious, locked away, forgotten about. Now that doesn't mean that those bits are not at work. They are very much at work, but under our conscious radar, so we're not really aware of it. We do see the shadow though in, in our deeds. So for instance, if we believe we're a good and kind person and so forth, however, our deeds reflect otherwise, well, then that's our shadow at work. We're not the, not as good as we thought we were. Now, the shadow stuff's all come from Jung, and he says that our sense of self, who we think we are, all right, is really only half a person, and the shadow makes up the other half. Now, to be truly whole, we need to embrace the shadow and bring the light into the darkness, so to speak, make the unconscious conscious. Why do you want to do that? Everything's been working fine so far, or maybe it hasn't. Well, as long as that part of us is unconscious, we're not aware of it, it is fully open to manipulation and exploitation by other people. And it'll make our lives feel as though we're driven by fate or circumstance or forces outside of our control, or, the devil did it, or God is punishing me, whatever. So as long as the shadow, those parts of our personality remain unconscious, they're very active, but they're perceived to be a force outside of ourselves that take control of us from time to time, and it can be very unsettling. So, other words for the shadow, just to give you a better idea of what the shadow is. We refer to the shadow as our alter ego, the double, the dark twin, the disowned self, Freud's id. We can also refer to it as the demon or the devil, as opposed to our conscious ego. And of course, everyone's conscious ego is quite favourable, We usually think well of ourselves and good intention and good people and so forth. So, if our deeds are at odds with who we think we are, well, the devil did it. It wasn't me, it was a force outside of myself. Now, I guess if you're looking at personality types, from what I understand, remember, this is stuff that I've researched and, I'm sharing with you. And, as a means to explore further within yourselves. And this is still a journey for me. I'm exploring too. I haven't got all the answers. But, it seems to me that at the extremes of the shadow and the ego, right, at the extremes, we've got the empath personality on one side and the narcissistic personality on the other side. All right, these are the two extremes of the ego and the shadow. Now, some of you will be identified with more of the narcissistic type personality, and some of you will be identified more with an empathetic personality. Each side looks at the other as inferior. So, in terms of judging the shadow as either good or bad, it really is a matter of perspective. Because one man's hero will be another man's villain, if you like. Yeah, so, people think the shadow's bad, but it's not necessarily bad. It can be a good thing depending on how you look at it. All right, so I'll give you an example. So, for instance, if you're an empath, you see yourself as kind, giving and understanding. You're into serving others and helping other people's needs. That's what you deem as good thing, as being a good person. From the narcissistic perspective, if you are exhibiting those sorts of personality traits, it's seen as weakness, vulnerability, and easy prey. So that's not a good thing. So from the narcissist perspective, being empathetic is akin to being suicidal, You're just leaving yourself open to exploitation and prey for other people. So from the narcissist perspective, being empathetic is a bad thing. Now, as a narcissist, they don't see themselves as a narcissist. They see themselves as being in control and empowered, protecting their own needs and interests, looking after themselves, because no one else is looking after them. So, otherwise I'm not going to survive. I have to look after my own needs. So it's me versus everyone else. Everyone else is then objectified because they're a potential threat. And, it gives rise to the winner-loser mindset, So every interaction is an interaction where you're either being taken advantage of or you're looking after yourself, which from an empathetic perspective would be, being cruel, aggressive or selfish and exploiting others. It's just not a good thing. So from a narcissist perspective, the behaviour traits of a narcissist are simply, necessary for getting by in this world. But from an empath's perspective, they're just being cruel, aggressive and, terrible people. So what's the whole idea then with Jung's bringing the shadow into the light into the shadow, making ourselves whole? I think it's all about getting that balance right. So not being at the extremes, but each side working towards a healthy middle ground. And that's where embracing the shadow comes in, We're not fighting each other, we're embracing each other. A healthy middle ground in the middle. And I think that's the theme of a lot of religions too, that healthy middle ground. So what's that look like? So instead of being terribly aggressive, it might calm down to just being assertive. Instead of being selfish, you're being self-caring. It's more like a fair exchange, a level playing field. All right. It's like, not having a locked cage, but a guarded gate. So like an empath would behave as though, the gate's wide open for everyone, everyone's invited, come and take advantage of me. I'm here to be a giver, look after everyone, take on the burdens of the world. Whereas the narcissist has the gates all locked, they're not coming in or out. Look, I'm just protecting everything. So the middle ground would be something like, instead of a wide open gate or a locked gate, we've got a guarded gate. So a gate which has some discernment as to what's going in and out. So, in having that guarded gate, then you are in control of the flow of energy in and out of yourself, so to speak. And you can regulate it to have a sort of balanced outcome, or, strive for a balance of that energy exchange between yourself and others in life, to, increase your joy and empowerment and so forth and blah, blah, blah. And, I guess it's all about getting your life, optimising your life so it works a lot better and you're much more happier and satisfied and in control. A bit like, you become a conscious creator instead of an unconscious creator. You start taking, the reins in your own hands, so to speak. You're not riding the carriage with the horses running out of control. You're in the driver's seat. So that's what it's all about, being in the driver's seat. This thing about bring the light into the darkness, bring the shadow into consciousness, so you regain control over your life. So I think that's all. I've got my notes, you see, because I forget things. But I think that's all I really want to say. But one other thing too, there's a thing called a golden shadow. Now, golden shadow is the shadow of the narcissist, because the narcissist is actually denied themselves, the opportunity to give to themselves, if you like. So their golden shadow actually allows them to give more to themselves, and that's quite a surprise for them, that their shadow is quite a good thing for them. And obviously it'd be the opposite for a narcissist shadow. They have some quite dark shadows to look at, I guess, and things can be a little bit more challenging. So I thought I'd share a few shadow jokes. I told my friend that he should embrace his mistakes. So he gave me a hug. Because obviously what we see as a shadow is reflected in other people. And once we embrace our shadow, we'll come to understand and accept people for who they are. How does a shadow try and relax? By indulging in its favourite guilty pleasures and ignoring the nagging of the ego. What did the ego say to the shadow? Stop being so impulsive. We need to think before we act. And why did the ego refuse to go bungee jumping? It was afraid of its shadow snapping. Well, there you got it, folks. That's all I want to share with you today, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.